we good? Okay, we're recording.
Alright, so the first thing on our agenda was for our 6 weeks test next week, the accommodation of oral admin.
Yes, I have the test recorded so that students will be able to go log onto the computer, and the test will be under is it student share or something, like one of those drives that I'll have to look.
Share.
Okay, student share. And the kids will be able to click on the question to have it read to them. Now this is not, last week, or yesterday I found out a little bit more information about the STAR A test. And this is not gonna be ideal for the STAR A test, but at least it gets them a little bit used to having the test read to them on the computer.
Right.
Versus a person reading it, because the STAR A test will be on a computer. So that is.
But there's accommodations built into it that we can't do.
Right. And in the training that I got yesterday, they did say that all of those resources will be coming out very soon. So we were told that they will be coming out very, very soon. So that's going to be good to have.
Okay, are you going to put it in a folder?
Yeah, I'll put it in a folder titled 8th grade math.
Okay.
And then the kids, we can just have them ready. So just make sure that you tell your kids beforehand to bring their headphones so that they can log on if you don't already have. So that they can listen to it if you don't already have.
Did you record it under that Audible like we've done in the past?
Mm-hmm.
So it's each question separate?
Yes. Yes. So that the kids can have that question reread to them. Because I know that our kiddos haven't had this, have never taken it on the computer.
This will do it, that's step one, early step one, so they can get the math.
And one thing to make sure that we put journal this and aware whenever our kids are getting these oral accommodations, or really any accommodations, so that way they'll be able to get it for STAR. So we've got that taken care of. The oral administration accommodations for that are done.
And they will use small grouping for that.
Yes, small grouping as well, yes. Be good.
So then we'll finish up with Unit 4 when we get that. That means we start Unit 5 on the 30th, which is solving equations. And here's how it's different than it has been in the past. We have to solve equations and inequalities with variables on both sides, including combining like terms and using the distributive property.
Which we've done some of this stuff in pre-algebra, but I don't think we have to this extent with our 8th graders, not with variables on both sides.
And with equations and inequalities. We've never even done inequalities. And they have to be able to not only solve them, but write equations and inequalities.
Okay.
And given an equation and inequality, write something from it. So they have to start from written and write the equation, start from the equation, be able to write a scenario. And the readiness tech has the word model in it.
How are they gonna model this? Cause
Well, the way that, like the readiness text says model and solve one variable equation with variables on both sides of the equal sign that represent mathematical and real world problems using rational number coefficients and constants. So the models would be just like some of the models we've seen in 7th grade. They would have the balance with X's on both sides. And algebra tiles, the bars. Now,
squares.
Now, when it's a model, sometimes if the signs are the same of your variables, it's really easy.
right.
It's when the signs are different,
Which is what happened in 7th grade. The signs are typically the same.
Right, but we can't assume that's gonna be the same. They don't know what we're talking about. When the signs are the same, they can just start crossing off. An
That's
X
how we
here and an
teach in
X
7th
here,
grade.
an X here and an X here. But now that we have any rational number coefficients, they could have a 3x and a negative 2x on the other side. And so that's the issue. So not only do we have to talk about combining like terms, because they're going to want to add 2x and 4, we have to talk about distributive property. We have to talk about how you need to get all your variables on one side, your numbers on the other, and on top of that, throw the inequalities in there about what happens when you multiply and divide by negatives.
Wow.
And that's the next 3 weeks,
Now,
or 2.
Is does this unit, this is 10-day unit, right? 10 days.
Is that 10 days for
Well, it's
A
still
day and B day, or like 2 days?
10 days
total?
total, it's not 10,
So
8.
it's like 5 days with A and 5 days.
Yeah, and we actually have it, somehow, we magically have an extra day in. We have the rest of the 6 weeks to complete this, okay? Because, but we have to give our benchmark at the beginning of the third 6 weeks. The
Which
window
is-
will be the 17th, that week of the 17th.
That's the week before Thanksgiving?
Don't ask me, I get confused.
I think it is, I think it's the
It
week,
is, hold on, but you said the first week of the third 6 weeks.
First week of the third 6 weeks.
Yeah, that is the week before Thanksgiving, the 17th.
Yeah, that week of the 17th, we have to give a benchmark. So
basically,
we have the rest of the 6 weeks to finish this up, then we have to review and give a benchmark for this. So I kind of broke it down. They did solving equations and writing two-step equations in seventh grade. I think that's where we need to start. Of course, we'll go in with one step, just real quick, and then start with the two-step. Oh, darn, I grabbed everything else but that one activity. I have an activity, which is a math lib on two-step equations. So I was thinking that we could do the two-step equation like review, and they could do the math lab activity. And what it is it, you know, I had it in my room because I copied it for algebra and didn't use it. It is 10 two-step equations where they solve it and they pick multiple choice answers, which one
I don't remember.
is it, and it has words on it. So it comes out and say, Mr. Pollard, you know, has bald head, I don't know what it comes, but it comes out with these words that they make the funny math lib with when they fill it all in. And if they do it correctly, it says one thing. Does that make sense? So it's kind of an activity for two-step equations that I have. I also found these equation mazes. Those are the answers. This is a one-step. These are the two-step. It has a combination from one step and 2 steps. So they start and they have to solve 3x minus 7 equals 17. And then whichever way their answer is, that's the next problem they solve.
Did you say that you had that in one step, just a one-step one?
I do. I have that in just a one-step one. If y'all wanted to use that in
Differentiate.
yeah,
To kind of start with the one step.
because this way that lets them know immediately if they don't get one of those answers, they know they have it wrong. So it's kind of a self-checking, and it also reinforces.
Okay, so let's do this for, like, as an in-class for, we can differentiate and give this to some, and then the two-step for others.
And here's the answer to that one.
And then I have some materials here too, with the expressions here, that they can easily go through and learn some of the terminology or translate your expressions. And then also, the one step, I have a lot of one step equations there.
Because I think we're gonna have to start with some one-step, just to review some of those concepts.
So I thought, I don't know if maybe this would be a cute homework for once. Because, you know, something a little bit different. The only thing is, you know, they try to do it in their heads, and we have to make them show their work on paper.
Well, could we, like, number the problems still, like, and say this is problem number 1?
Yeah, but it depends on which way you go. I don't know which way you go, if it's gonna be the same number of problems you have to work.
Well, then maybe they just, okay, so this is number 1, and the problem that gets to the right answer, they go to that problem. So if we number this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, then if number 1 takes them to number 4, then they would work number 4 next.
You think that would confuse them?
I don't know, we might think about that one a little bit, how we would
Have them organize it.
Because that is one thing, if they will try and do it in their head, but we need to be able to see all their steps.
And see, this has negatives in it, where it forces them where they can't do everything in their head. And things like 1/3 x plus 6. Now, if some of them are smart enough to plug in and go, You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, plug in the answer choices.
Mm-hmm. That's not a bad strategy to begin with.
Is there
But-
gonna have instructions on
Right, but we
Yeah.
still need to encourage them to show the steps, because the problems are gonna get ugly quickly.
And they're all gonna have their calculators that they can use this to help solve the, not like the in-solve, application on the calculator, but just using the calculator to be able to solve, just to undo the steps.
Right.
Because sometimes our kids don't know, they're still not confident in their integer rules.
Correct.
A lot of mine aren't.
No, I know a lot of them are.
So I think for pre-algebra that I would like it, but I don't know if I'm gonna do the homework. I wanna give them a little more depth for homework, but I like it for maybe like an in-class practice.
But that would give two, I don't know if you have enough time to do this and the other activity, I don't know how much time.
Oh, the Mad Libs and.
Yeah,
this
cause I was
one?
just thinking we would need one day on this, so that we could spend, and maybe, I don't know, we'll just have to see how it goes.
It does have some, but, I think most of those are ones that they've done in 6th and 7th grade. So we're thinking the 30th and the 31st to do 1 and 2 step equations. Along with the Mad Libs activity, and then the maze possibly for homework. You were talking about pre-algebra, there's also some, like, on the Kuta website, they have some,
Yeah, I have like a million different things
some of these are just like 2-step that have a little bit more, and then I saw some that were multi-step, but some of those might be more like day 2 type of assignments. So for us, I am thinking spend the first day on one step and just really get them
I would
comfortable
use
with
this.
1 step. And then day 2, work on some of the 2-step.
Law.
Yes.
Use something like
equations
this,
and
where they have
relating how
to,
that's
not
the
just
same
have
as
the equation, they have to write the equation and solve it.
I know we have many things
To
that's
still keep it the same concept.
choose and
Picture
even
the same
have to paste them together, probably. To make it a little bit more.
But they'll need some practice with just
So
some
make
plain
some
ones.
alternatives.
Yeah, just
But,
like that.
and then some word problems.
Yeah, I have a lot that came from honorable do solving equations. and all.
It's 6th grade doesn't do it, it's not a 6th grade honor. They do the,
That should introduce it right here.
Yeah, we are.
one-step type,
We're
2x
testing
equals
the
6.
same
Now,
thing we read
think
in
about
the
what can x be?
Right.
2 times what? Yeah, which they do that. But they don't do the
When we
algebraic
do
steps.
the Mad Libs here, I think this is.
And then
really
nothing with
good,
integers, obviously,
to
because
grade our kids
they
together.
didn't learn.
So we'll have to start pretty slow
You
too.
can work
Yes.
with even
Because they'll need
grades,
some
and then we'll
support
also
at
have
first.
to work with the group.
So that will be on the
Okay.
station.
Yes, the stations.
They're not yet.
So, I know we could spend days on this, but we don't. We need to,
Yeah, well, and everything
we'll
that we've
keep
done up to this point really is review.
right,
I mean, they have 1 and 2 step equation in years past, they've solved that. So it will be reviewed, they'll just have to have a little bit of refresher with that. I think a lot of the 7th grade teachers too, talk to their, kids about the party and your best friend. Did you do that with your kids? Like you or your ex and your best friend stays with you to the end of the party?
I usually
or-
have like a couple on the bus.
Yeah, pick some kids. So you might want to remind them of that whenever, well, probably 8th grade, whenever you're teaching that to them, and just remind them, say, remember in 7th grade, whenever you, your teacher talked about the party, and you or your best friend want to stay, like the variable that's, like if it's 2x plus 5, 2 is your best friend, you want to keep your best friend with you to the very end of the dance or the very end of the party, and your other friend leaves. And then, that just sometimes, I mean, my kids last year, it helped them to understand, like, what operation needed to be done first, and what needed to
and also
stay
just the thought of it's order of operation backwards. And we have to keep reminding them about order of operations too.
That's true.
Especially when they're checking. Don't forget to have them check their answer. That's all right when you check it in the calculator.
Mhm. have just been doing that with systems of equations and checking their answers with systems of equations. I know that that has helped a lot, and the kids are definitely feeling a lot more confident in that. So this should transition pretty smoothly into checking their work for equations, because my kids are like, oh, I'm glad that I know at least I got this one right, because I was able to check it by plugging it back in.
Right, so then we have to solve equations with variables on both sides. But before we actually do that, don't you think it would be smart if we talked about combining like terms and distributed property first? Because when you're moving variables around, you're combining like terms.
Yeah.
So I have a PowerPoint that if you want to send, it's kind of cheesy, but it's called Combining Like Worms.
Oh, cute.
And so there's green worms and brown worms that you combine, and they move around.
Do you talk about going to the grocery store at all? I know that's what we've done in the past.
Well, these are just brown worms and green worms and yellow worms. It's combining like worms instead of combining like terms. It's the same process.
One of the things that I did, and I stole this from somebody else, and we've been using with pre-algebra, is going to the grocery store and you don't put your apples and your bananas and your oranges all in the same bag, because the checkout lady will look at you like you're crazy, because all of those things have different values, they have different prices. And so we talk about that you're going to combine all your apples together, and you're going to combine all your bananas together, and you're going to combine all your oranges together.
And
So
I
it's
told them that I
the same.
actually did that one time. They think it's so funny that one time I went to the grocery store and put them all in my bag, which isn't true, but I told them I did that. And I told them the lady took them all out and separated them. And they're like, duh! They think it's so funny that I did that.
That's definitely, both of those, sometimes if you teach it one way or introduce it, you might still say it another way too, because sometimes you've seen that one way you say it may get somebody, but then another way you teach it to somebody else, or say it a little bit differently, they understand it a little bit better too. So we're thinking combining like terms and distributed property on the third and fourth.
And still just some more solving, because two-step equations just keep spiraling up back in. Because if they don't get that, they're not gonna get anything else. And then the fifth and sixth, we can have equations with variables on both sides.
How are you thinking about equations with variables on both sides? I mean, they're still just reviewing their combining like terms. I mean, like, okay, so wait, combining like terms when we're doing it, are all the like terms gonna be on the same side? And we're combining them?
When I do
Or-
combining like terms, I'm usually not using an equation, I'm usually using an expression.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
We have a class where Flash, I mean, Kathy did on combining like terms with variables on both sides. I don't know if that's really to the level.
Well, that'll be where we have to get to when we're solving those equations.
Okay.
That's not combining like, when you were solving the equations, where you have to combine like terms, yeah, that's where we have to get to.
That's on the fifth, sixth.
We have, well, the fifth, sixth is just simple variables on both sides.
Yeah.
And then the seventh, eighth, there will be our multi-step.
Which is more like the screen share.
Yes.
Okay.
I definitely think that middle level would be a alternate assignment that year for distributed property. Distributed property, I was looking through here to see if we had any distributed property, like an alternate assignment for them. I didn't see one, but let me see if something's in this small.
Yeah, some class work for instead.
Yeah.
And these are also really simple, just solving questions and solutions. So I'm sure it's what
Yeah. But I don't know, wait,
And we're not
No.
near finished, we're getting towards the end of the 6 weeks, so we're gonna have to have a quiz of some sort.
Yeah.
But we're not finished.
I'll check.
And I'm afraid to condense it anymore. But we're gonna need some kind of assessment piece.
Are you thinking quizzing 13, 14?
I don't wanna give us quiz 13,
I don't want to
14,
either. I'd
and
rather do it look like 12 as well. That way we can kind of get, well, and kids can correct.
I honestly wouldn't even mind the 7th, 10th.
And just quiz on the more simple ones, and then start getting into the more complex ones, that would bother me either.
That's probably a better idea.
Because you don't really need a day of review, because you're reviewing everything
Yeah.
as you're doing it.
Right.
So during all this, are we also doing inequalities?
You know,
Not yet. I think inequalities are gonna be like the next week. Are they gonna be the next week? Have to be now that we're
Yeah.
at the end of the week. Well, we could quiz on like half the class period. I mean, I'm not gonna spend a whole class period to do a
Yeah.
quiz. If it's, I mean,
Yeah,
a
that's
district
what I mean.
assessment, maybe, yeah, but not on a quiz.
I was thinking about doing all equations and then hitting inequalities. Because that's
So
how,
y'all wanna quiz the first half of 710 and then do multi-step equations, and then we can go into inequalities?
well, we'll have to do a day and a half of multi-step. We'll have to do this
Yeah.
7 and 10, and then the 11 to 12.
And with our kiddos too, there's a program on the calculator that we look at, and, it's called an InSolve, that the calculator can solve these equations for them. But we don't wanna start off with that. But when we get to some of these very multi-step equations, I think that's gonna help them a lot too.
Can we go over until, or do one more day on inequalities? Or do we need to be done shortly?
Well, it is.
We have that window of that week
There's some flex days, some disabilities.
and we have to get that assessment that, so that next week is a week. That would just mean, okay, if we spent one more day on inequalities on the first, that Monday, Tuesday of the next week, and that means Monday, Tuesday, no, that wouldn't work. Because then you wouldn't get your test until that Monday you came back from Mexico. So we'll probably do one day on inequalities, and then, the next week, Monday, Tuesday, we'll go over more inequalities and review for the benchmark. Cause that's gonna be, we're gonna have to do scale factor, I mean,
We can find
it's
that
units,
in their additional assignment.
1 through 5.
I have a question, with solving equations, are you gonna let them use their calculator for the start of this?
To solve, yes, but I'm not gonna show them in solve,
Okay, so we
because
should be
not-
letting them use, or like, just,
integers,
yeah,
is that what you mean?
like on this, where's one of those simpler ones, like this and stuff?
Well, they still have to know what to do, like the calculator's not gonna do it for them, so they
They
still
have
need
to
to
show
know
their steps.
that they
Okay.
need to do +3 +3. So if they don't know what 1 + 3 is, they could type them in.
Okay.
And you're gonna be, and you need to, here's what I tell them, I said, I can have a person turn in their paper with every right answer on, and they will fail it, because I'm not just checking right answers, I'm checking to see if they have to process the steps.
Okay,
And I can have a person turn in a paper with every wrong answer on it and pass it, because they're showing me the steps, they just accidentally said 1 + 2 was 4.
okay.
A few times, you know. And so I really emphasize those steps. Because Kathy and I were talking, the harm to just straight off showing them in solve and they never learn the process is that when they get to algebra and they get equations like 3x + 4y = 12, and they have to put those in slope-intercept form, they don't know how to manipulate because they never learned. And this is teaching them how to manipulate those equations. And then they were saying if they just get taught in solve, they have trouble in chemistry and things like that, solving those types of problems. Now, in our special populations, that's where they need to be, you know. And will we eventually show them that in March? You know, I'll eventually show them in March, but they still need to know what's happening. Because, you know, especially those pre-algebra kids, because they hit pre-cal and they don't know how to manipulate, and all of a sudden, and they hit geometry, they don't know how to manipulate, all of a sudden they're doing tangent cosines, and it's not working for them because they can't manipulate the solve.
We decide, like you said on, I just was thinking it through my head, make sure I have this right. Then the next day, that's not on the calendar, 15th, 16th, we'll finish inequalities and have a short review.
17th, 18th,
And then, oh yeah, you're right.
That's okay.
And then the next 2 days, Wednesday, Thursday, that's the district benchmark.
Mhm.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's Wednesday, we can review all the benchmark.
No, we review on that Monday, Tuesday.
We'll finish inequality then.
Okay.
If they don't understand how to manipulate equations, they're lost on inequalities. So spending the time on the equations is what is important, because the only difference with inequalities is flipping that inequality sign. And you can't insult an inequality.
Right.
And if they can't manipulate it and know whether they're multiplying or dividing by negative, and it is a readiness standard, equations solve equations and inequalities with variables in both sides.
Now, are they having to graph any of these inequalities?
Nowhere does it say that.
That's what I'm reading to see if it does.
Nope, nowhere does it say that.
Okay.
I did not physically type on the graph the whole time. I misspelled when I typed inequalities 2 times, for some reason. My fingers wouldn't type it right.
Okay.
But, the big one,
So we're not gonna have to get into the open circle, closed circle. I mean, technically, we did that activity, just that we did a couple days
Quickly.
ago.
the writing a corresponding real world problem, if I give them an equation and they have to write the corresponding real world problem, is a supporting standard.
Be able to write it from the equation. That's very,
But
well, okay.
mine got pretty good at that last year. You start, your base rate of $55 per plumber and they charge $3 per hour. They got really good at those types of problems. So I think if we start spiraling a lot of those in our warm-ups, because that's what we did last year, that's what happened.
Well,
see
and they
over
all
over.
do that same scenario. Like they pick one thing and they repeat it. They say a plumber charges $5 or comes, or I guess charges, what's your plumber charge, $25 an hour? Pretty expensive, probably even more than that. And has a, what's it called, a service fee for like $50 or whatever. So they all use that same type of scenario every time.
What's gonna be new to them is understanding how do you write a real world problem with variables on both sides. So, and that's when you're comparing two things. When is phone plan A gonna equal phone plan B? When is it gonna be good? That's when the variables are on both sides, when you're comparing.
Did Megan get to show you anything from the equations workshop she went to yesterday?
She learned why you flip the sign when you multiply and divide by negative.
Well, she said something that she learned something about how to do those types of problems with a strips.
They learned to do something with strips.
Well, I definitely, I want her to share in our next department PLC about that, because when you go into a workshop, she can bring something back, her and
Now it's gonna be
Nancy.
too late for us.
Yeah, but it won't be for 7th and 6th.
Yeah, maybe she can show us really quick. If it's just like what we're doing with a strip,
It may not, maybe.
I
it's
don't
something
know
hard
how
to
to
do.
do it. I know that Julie Fowler likes the fence idea. I mean, she does that. I know some of our former algebra teachers thought that was stupid fun.
Okay, so before we go, we've got down 1 and 2 step equations, we've got our activity. Do we already have like a teach piece to go for 1 and 2 steps, or does everybody just kind of want to piece together the ones that they have? Because I mean, I think we all have 1 and 2 step equation PowerPoints.
Yeah, I mean, we have some from last year we can look at.
Okay.
We need to make sure we just get some word problems in them.
Okay. And then we've got some alternative ideas for our group. And then we're moving into combining like terms and distributed property. You said you had a worms one.
Combining like words.
Does it also take care of distributed property? Okay, so we might want to
I
add
have
to that distributed property.
Oh, I just have a separate one.
Okay, we can do 2 that day then. Do we have a homework for distributed property and combining like terms?
We have some past, I haven't created one or pulled one yet.
Okay.
I've got a ton of stuff that we could pull from the past, or we could create if nobody wants to pull.
Okay.
Well, because whatever we create on that, I don't want it to be just in my head, I don't wanna keep just combining like terms and distributive, I wanna keep those two-step equations going. Writing them,
yes.
writing them and solving them.
Every single, well, especially, that's all gonna be beneficial for the quiz that we'll have on
Right.
that Friday. Alright, perfect. So we got through everything on our agenda for today, and we meet again on Tuesday for 8th grade. And Tuesday, we'll be able to look at our data, well, we'll still be giving our test, our CCA, or our 6
Yeah,
weeks
BA
test.
hasn't taken that.
So then, that following, at the end of the week, then we'll analyze our data from that, 6 weeks test. And pull that. Any questions?